Welcome to the webinar discussing recent revisions to FDA's guidance ANDA submissions, amendments to Abbreviated New Drug Applications under GDUFA. We'll be referring to this guidance as the Amendments Guidance throughout the webinar. This is a pre-recorded informational webinar that is expected to run approximately 12 minutes in length. In this webinar, we will provide a high-level overview of the guidance. We'll also touch on the GDUFA III commitments that relate to the amendments guidance. We'll briefly discuss the revisions we made to the guidance based on GDUFA III, as well as the comments we received from the public docket. We'll wrap up by talking about discipline-specific internal training that FDA is currently developing, and briefly discuss technical matters related to the docket for this guidance. To provide an overview, the amendments guidance explains to applicants how the review goals established as part of GDUFA III apply to amendments to Abbreviated New Drug Applications and prior approval supplements. Additionally, the guidance describes amendment classification and explains how amendment submissions may affect an application's assessment goal dates. This guidance supersedes the July 2018 guidance by the same name. The amendments guidance provides a description of the three types of amendments: major amendments, minor amendments, and unsolicited amendments. The guidance also identifies the assessment goals for amendments submitted to ANDAs and PASs, which are based on several factors, including whether the amendment is subject to standard or priority assessment, is major or minor, and whether the submission requires a pre-approval inspection. The guidance also covers changes to classifications or assessment goals, deferred amendments, amendments submitted to tentatively approved applications, and amendments submitted in response to changes in the drug master file. The guidance includes recommendations to facilitate processing of amendments by FDA. Finally, the guidance notes how applicants may request reconsideration of major amendment classification status via teleconference with FDA. An important section of the amendments guidance is Appendix A. This appendix contains a non-exhaustive list of examples of potential deficiencies that FDA may classify as major. These deficiencies are categorized as pharmaceutical quality deficiencies, bioequivalence deficiencies, risk evaluation and mitigation strategies, REMS deficiencies, and labeling deficiencies. Turning to the specific subcategories of potential major deficiencies under these headings, pharmaceutical quality deficiencies include drug substance, drug product, process, microbiology, biopharmaceutics, and facilities deficiencies. Bioequivalence deficiencies include BE, clinical BE, pharmacology toxicology, clinical consultation, clinical, and statistical deficiencies. A potential major REMS deficiency in which the proposed REMS submission is either inadequate or missing, as well as two labeling deficiencies that could be classified as major, are also included in Appendix A. Why did FDA revise the amendments guidance? Section 9B of the GDUFA III commitment letter states, FDA will issue a Federal Register notice on or before April 30, 2023 to solicit public comment on the content of Appendix A in the Guidance for Industry on ANDA Submissions, Amendments to Abbreviated New Drug Applications under GDUFA, July 2018, and will use evaluations and/or training to assure consistency in ANDA amendment classification. To meet the first part of this GDUFA commitment, FDA solicited feedback on Appendix A by publishing a Federal Register notice on August 15, 2022, announcing the establishment of a docket to solicit comments on Appendix A. During the 60-day comment period, 6 commenters submitted over 100 comments on Appendix A. In January 2023, FDA convened a work group to incorporate GDUFA III language and commitments into the guidance and review comments on Appendix A and consider additional guidance revisions based on those comments. Regarding revisions, FDA made minor updates to the guidance to reflect the GDUFA III commitment letter and legislation. In addition, 2 outdated sections and the outdated Appendix B were removed from the guidance. The 2 outdated sections reference target action dates and GDUFA I submissions, which are no longer applicable under GDUFA III. Further, Appendix B contained an older iteration of this guidance that has been superseded. Examples were updated in the body of the guidance, and some outdated examples were removed. Several explanatory footnotes were added, and existing footnotes were updated as needed. In addition to revising the body of the guidance, FDA updated the framing language for Appendix A. Revised language was drafted to clarify that where appropriate, FDA will attempt to resolve deficiencies identified during the assessment cycle through information requests, IRs, and discipline review letters, DRLs, prior to sending them in a complete response letter, or CRL. This addressed a significant number of public comments. A footnote to the framing language was also added, clarifying that when the relevant assessment discipline must internally consult with other FDA offices, this often requires significant assessment resources and generally results in a major deficiency. This slide shows how FDA changed the language at the beginning of Appendix A. As shown in red, the word potential was added to the heading for Appendix A to communicate that just because a deficiency relates to an example given in the appendix, that does not mean the deficiency will automatically be classified as a major deficiency. Also shown in red, FDA replaced prior framing language with the following new language. The determination of whether an application is issued a major or minor deficiency will be in the judgment of the relevant assessment discipline. Where appropriate, FDA will attempt to resolve possible deficiencies identified during the assessment cycle through IRs and DRLs prior to sending them in a CRL. Unresolved deficiencies will result in a major or minor CRL. Out of 93 examples in Appendix A, over 70 examples had some revision, clarification, or update based on public comments and internal FDA discussions. 8 examples were deleted entirely because they were duplicative or outdated. The REMS section was removed almost completely. FDA removed most of the REMS section because FDA guidances specific to REMS are now available. A clinical section was also added under the bioequivalence deficiencies category. We will now discuss the second part of FDA's GDUFA III commitment. To ensure consistency in ANDA amendment classification, FDA is developing discipline-specific training for each Office of Generic Drugs, OGD, and Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, OPQ, discipline involved with the assessment process. During the trainings, presenters from each discipline will cover amendment classification within that discipline and review the changes made to Appendix A. Public comments provided helpful, specific examples that trainers considered for use in developing their discipline-specific trainings. The public docket, which is available at www.regulations.gov, contains background documents and all electronic and written or paper comments received. In accordance with FDA's good guidance practices, if you wish to submit a comment for FDA's consideration to this or any FDA guidance at any time, you may do so by visiting www.regulations.gov. To view or provide comments to the docket for this guidance, insert the guidance docket number shown on the screen, FDA-2017-D-5670, into the search box. Then click on the most recent version of the published guidance to submit comments. Thank you for watching this informational webinar. If you have questions, please email CDER SBIA at fda.hhs.gov. That's CDER SBIA at fda.hhs.gov. The webinar is now finished. Thank you for watching.